This episode of Obscure Chatter is brought to you by being over it. Whatever. I'm over it. And now, on to the episode. Starting off strong, I know. Welcome to another episode of Obscure Chatter. I'm your host, Terri Doty. If this is your first time listening, welcome. And if it isn't your first time, welcome back. Ha! Hello once again, beautiful unwell. I got that from Vampire Lestat. That's not you. Beautiful unwell doesn't describe any of us. Maybe it does. No, we're all healthy and well, or we're trying, and that is all that matters sometimes. Because it's hard to stay healthy lately. You know, we can't even eat vegetables without possibly eating shit. If you want to eat shit, that's your business. Me, I'm not a fan of eating shit. I'm just quirky that way. I know, the sheer audacity of me. Let's go ahead and get a little sip of water. It's the end of July, and I will do absolutely everything in my power not to make a reference to the fucking heat. I just thought I'd get that out of the way right now. I do read your feedback. I actually don't think anybody's actually said anything. It's like, dude, we get it. It's hot. Shut the fuck up about it now. The ones that reply most of the time are pretty freaking great. And then occasionally being like, oh, I don't like that you're talking about the Omegaverse so much. It makes me feel things. Maybe you should sit with that, Kevin. Sit with it. I'm coming down from being incredibly keyed up. Like I'm on a bit of a hangover, I guess, because of something that happened just a couple hours before we hopped into the booth. It's worth talking about. Steven got up early to scout for some deer a couple hours away, so my dog Willow and I just hogged the bed and slept in as much as we could. I actually cooked my own breakfast, which is rare. When Steven is out, I usually stick to something cold or microwavable, And I've been meaning to rewatch Roger Rabbit. It's just such a good movie. So did that over some coffee. All in all, a pretty fucking great morning. Except for my dude not being with me for me to talk over whatever we're watching when he's trying to focus, and then he gets overwhelmed because two things are talking both at the same volume. So everything's going okay until after, I've done my morning ablutions, gone to the bathroom, brushed my teeth, washed my face. I'm like, all right, before I get dressed and everything, I'm going to take Willow out for her, her after breakfast pee, poop, and or play, depending on how hot it is outside. And the neighbors that I have to my immediate right, stage left, not right. They're renting from a friend of ours. The friend is who used to live there, and that's how we became friends. And then he moved, and we just kind of keep him updated sometimes on some stuff. Like, hey, did you say they could do this? Yeah, we're narcs about that shit. And he's like, no, what are they doing in the yard? Send me photos. But most of the time, it's pretty chill. These renters have been here about 2 years. At least the guy is a landscaper. Willow tends to bark at pretty much anything she sees when it's close to the fence. It's this weird thing she has. It's called being a dog. Dogs bark. So the female neighbor is newish. There used to be 2 guys living there, and I think one of the guys moved out, and one of the other guy's girlfriend moved in. She's not had a fan. I've not been a fan since she keeps using my driveway to back up, and turn course. Are you that stupid, ma'am? I don't know her name. I'm going to call her Catherine. Fucking Catherine. But anyways, when Catherine, heard Willow barking as she was mowing, she told Willow to shut up. I really don't give a fuck about that. I tell other people's dogs to shut up all the time. I get it. It can be annoying, especially on the other side of their house is a neighbor with like 4 dogs. So when Willow barked again, Catherine said, "I will poison you," to my dog. I immediately said, "Hey, that's not cool." Nothing. So I don't know if she didn't hear me, or maybe she didn't think I was there and was like, "Oh, shit." I don't know. But I immediately started shaking. So I took Willow inside. I hurried to get dressed because my ass was outside with no bra, still in my PJs. And I immediately opened a voice memo, boop, started recording as I'm like approaching. And I'm like, it's July 25th, 2026, exiting garage, like literally. I sometimes really am curious what kind of terrifying mother I'd be. Being a dog mom I'm already kind of terrifying. But I approached the neighbor's garage and the guy was there. I don't know his name, so I'm gonna call him Frederick. It's Frederick and Catherine. Frederick, first thing I did, because I know he was working in the front yard, I'm like, "Hey, the woman in the back, does she live here?" And Fred's like, "Yeah." I explained the whole thing, and he's like, "Oh, I'll talk to her. Yeah, that's not cool." Like, she was probably kidding, but that's not cool. He also made sure to tell me that she had just started her period. I'm like, "Oh, okay, sorry." I had no real response to that. I think I laughed. I'll have to listen to the sound file again. I listened to it again immediately for the purposes of like trying to recall what was said for the cops, which is coming up. But it really wasn't anything. It's like, hey, like, I joke about shit all the time. But then Catherine came out. She's like, "Hello." And I was like, "Hi." And Frederick's like, "She was just saying that you threatened her dog." Catherine, who I imagine I should use my voice acting skills. Catherine, "Oh my God, it was a joke." Me, "It's not funny." Catherine, "Okay, well, sorry about that. Sorry you took it personal." And I was like, "Well, we can make it more personal by me calling the cops because you threatened to kill my dog." "I apologize. What more do you want?" I said, "Okay, cool. We can do it that way. We really can." She's like, "I already apologized." I said, "It's not a real apology." She said, "I'm not going to do it. I already apologized. Like, what more do you want? You want me to get on my knees? You want me to grovel? You want me to beg you not to call the cops? I already apologized." And I said, "It's not a real apology. You're fake." I walked off, letting Frederick and Catherine know I was calling the cops, which sucks for Frederick because if Catherine hadn't come out, I would have squashed it there. But when you do that, you kind of need to consider doing at least an incident report so there's a paper trail in case more shit happens. You just do. It's covering your own ass, covering your tuchus. So I was like, "Just so you know, calling the cops, and I'm calling the owner of the house." They didn't say anything. I called the emergency line. And no, for shit like this, do not call 911. Yeah. Non-emergency is also a lot more chill. Like I told the lady that I called the situation, she's like, "Oh my God." And even told her like what Frederick said. She's like, "Oh, right. Oh, well, she's on her period. Never mind." So a cop came out, took a report. He was also like, "Well, they could have report, they could say something about a noise complaint about your dog." And I'm like, doing that like, okay, Officer Kripke, whatever. So while I'm doing that, Steven's just coming when the cop gets there, Steven's just coming home. And, like, I'm trying to call him, like, hey, I don't want you to get here with a cop being in front of the house and be like, what the fuck happened? But, like, as Steven pulled in, we're on the phone. He's like, cops here. Get out of here. Or get out here. But everyone agrees, even I agree, that she was clearly not serious. If she had genuinely apologized with something like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, my brain isn't connected to my mouth sometimes, or just something of like real remorse, I wouldn't have felt compelled to write a fucking incident report. I really, really wouldn't. But alas, she chose to be a bag of dicks. And now I'm all in my head about whether it was like a big deal or, but you can't even jokingly say shit like that. Like, oh my God, it was a joke. Like, don't joke about poisoning a dog. Real talk, I've had a dog that's been murdered. It's not the kind of thing a kid forgets. So I wouldn't say that I was thinking about it that in the moment. I just can't believe I had to deal with that. It was so weird. And for a minute, it put me in a really weird mood. I was like, Steven's like, is it cool if I take a nap before we record? I'm like, yeah, no, it's totally fine. And I'm going to crochet these feelings out. Oh, yeah. I half double crocheted like a motherfucker. Catherine doesn't know who she's fucking with. Ha! I don't know. I mean, I just hate it because having beef with anybody sucks, but when they I share a fence with these people that I own, they don't. So again, don't fuck with me, Catherine. Don't fuck with me. Listening back to the file, it's like, wow, I didn't even cuss. Who am I? But yeah, I just couldn't let that slide. Like, doing the incident report, again, just helps just in case something else happens. Like, there's a paper trail just in case. So in my brain's like, hey, 100%, I think you handled the situation pretty well. Didn't overreact. But my brain is doing this or you could have said this. You could have said that. I'm like, I couldn't because I was shaking. I was so fucking upset. Hey, don't threaten my dog. I casually say stupid shit to this dummy that I feed and house and, love probably way too much. I'm a very weird dog mom. I talk for her at vet appointments, all that stuff. But you can be like, what are you doing, dummy? Or no, Willow, are you an idiot? You say shit like that. Just knowing da-da-da-da-da. But if I said, hey, I'm going to poison you to somebody else's dog, I really have no leg to stand on when they call the cops. I just don't. Fucking Catherine. I hope her and Frederick had a lovely morning. Yes, no, moving on. I hope you had a good holiday weekend at the start of this month. There were little to no fireworks, which surprised me. Pleasantly surprised me. This 4th felt different. I don't know about you, but it was probably one of the only years since living in my house that I own. Catherine, you rent. Ha! I'm not. I won't keep bringing this back, but not shaming a renter. I'm just shaming Catherine. Stupid Catherine. That's not her name. I don't know her name. The cop was like, do you know their names? I'm like, no. You can tell them my name's Terri Doty, though. Boom, boom. And not the one that's obsessed with Outlander online. Ha ha. Okay, no, going back to the 4th. Yeah, this one, it felt different. I just didn't hear any fireworks in the neighborhood or, anything like that. And I just don't think any of that was by coincidence. I got a couple barbecue invites, but I just didn't want to remotely celebrate the state that, we're in right now. I don't think I need to expand on that. I watched all 4 Jaws movies. and I hung out with my dude. But that could have been any day. Honestly, I'm lucky that way. Lucky. Lucky ducky. I just didn't, I guess, like, yeah, I didn't see much celebration. Sure, there were like a few yards that are like, hey, look at how many flags this store let me buy. Like, but still, like, I wonder if that was the case for you. I want to know. And, I don't at the same time. I'm an enigma that way. Remember, also, I'm in Texas. We usually go all out. Like, hey, so we're like, it's Tuesday, like, cool, making a brisket. But when it's a holiday, like, I'm making the fancy ass brisket, the one that's going to take like a couple days, that kind of thing. I don't know why I'm so obsessed with this accent. Someone needs to get, like, cast me as a Texan so it will be exorcised from my body. Yeah, we also had a high risk of fires because it was just so dry, and it's weird. But yeah, not complaining. Still, I could complain about the heat, but I promised you guys. So I say that is a perfect time to get to media. Media! I said the secret word! Need like a peanut gallery a little bit there. Yay! Media! But more about the secret word in a few. So, what have you been reading? What have you been watching, listening to? I don't know. Like, randomly, my belly is like upset about something. Maybe it hears Catherine. I keep wanting to call her Kathy, but Kathy's somebody else in my life. Fucking Catherine. My stomach is being all gurgly. Burgle gurgles. What? I don't... Okay, focus. So I apologize if you hear my belly. Sometimes that happens in recordings. And sometimes they keep it in just to be dicks. But you understand. It's fine. So if there's anything that you've latched onto this past month or just in general and you think I should check out, please let me know because I love recommendations. And it's only fair since I always share a few things with you. I read and reread more than a couple things, but I really just want to talk about the big one. Big for me, anyway. I've been on a redemption kick, as some of you might recall, these past couple months, and July was no exception. So I decided to tackle The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty. I think it's Blatty, not Blatty. I don't know. I decided to tackle The Exorcist again. The book originally came out in 1971, and I think when I say tackled it once again, I can only recall one time I think I tried to read it, and that was in my late teens. And it didn't gel for me. I didn't get it. But there are just times when you're not ready for a piece of art or a show or a band or a book. And that's why revisits are so much more fun. I remember being in Austin with my then boyfriend and a bunch of his roommates, and one of his roommates was English, and he tried to get us to watch Spaced, and I fell asleep, and Matthew, my ex, was like, oh my God, that was so rude. I'm like, it was so boring. And now Spaced is one of my favorite things. I watch it at least once a year. It's my it's what got me into Edgar Wright, all that stuff. But time's a fickle pickle. But yeah, no, back to The Exorcist. For those that don't know, this book/franchise starts centered around this 11-year-old named Reagan. Reagan is the daughter of Chris, who's a major movie star. There's also a priest named Damien Karras that's having a crisis of faith and struggling with family obligations. What starts off as, odd smells, sounds throughout the house starts manifesting in Reagan's insane behavior. Soon her mother can't recognize Regan at all. So doctor after doctor can't explain what's happening to Regan. And I love how ignorant some characters have to be, especially in horror. I really do. Like Chris is like, why was her bed shaking? Why was it levitating? And doctors are like, have you considered that Regan's upset about her dad being away? Like, what? So after a few wildly bananas episodes, if you haven't read or seen it, I'm not going to tell you some of the shit that makes me even just remotely thinking about it be like, how? The doctors are like, yo, so have you considered exorcism? And Chris is like, are you serious? That's so stupid. Never mind. It's not stupid. But this book was pretty controversial when it was released. I'm sure it's still controversial to other people that aren't as cool as Terri Doty. I know a lot of people also had feelings about the movie, or movies as well. I didn't get the hype for the longest time. I remember when I was a teenager, I saw the director's cut in theaters. I forget which anniversary it went back in theaters for. But I think I was an asshole about this movie. Like, there are parts that genuinely fucked me up for a bit. But all I could do, like, when those lights came up and a bunch of, friends and I went to go see this, we're all, gathering, all I did was bitch about how slow it was. I wasn't a patient moviegoer yet. But then there were moments, just moments, where I grabbed the person sitting next to me, who might have been a setup. That might have been part of a blind date. I don't remember exactly. But I grabbed his arm, like, oh my God, he's like, I don't think I left any permanent damage, but it was mostly, since it's the director's cut, there's a spider crawl that's like, no, but yeah. So with this redemption read, I took my time. Sometimes I really do emphasize the speed reading, and then other times no, I need to read this a couple of times. What just happened? And yeah, I found myself processing the chapters as I went in a way that I never did the first time. And same for when I sat down and watched the movie again. Stephen had never seen it, and like me, he had little interest in it. Little glimpses here and there whenever it was on TV, but he's like, nope, never, just sat down. And so after I finished the book, I sold Stephen on watching it by kind of being like, this is one of those movies that they always have on the list of a movie you need to see before you die. I wouldn't say you need to see it before you die. I'd say you should give it a try before you die. Give it a try, and don't eat soup if you're a fan of watching stuff over dinner. Just don't do that, especially pea soup. Which I love, under trivia. It's it was not Campbell's, just so you know. It wasn't thick enough. Haha, gotcha. Okay. Ugh. But when I posted about, showing Steven the movie on Instagram, I had a few people be like, well, it's not really horror. Or it's just not their thing, or other things. That's fine. But it's the mentality of here's it's that kind of stuff that made me stop going to horror conventions. I'll go to the occasional thing, but it's so much of it is just other people trying to convince one another that they're not true horror fans because they didn't like this, or they only like that because it's mainstream. Blah, blah, blah. Shut up. Watch what you want to watch. Unless it involves Eli Roth. See? What a hypocrite. I mean, but he sucks. He sucks a lot. So there's that. Will you be uncomfortable watching The Exorcist? God, yes. Pazuzu, yes. But live in that discomfort throughout the watch if you're able to make it through. Think about what parts tore at you. Ask yourself, why those things made you feel that type of way. I can't say that everyone should read the book, but I'm glad I did. It's been having me analyze some stuff in an interesting way that I'm still messing around with in the old cabeza. So, Stephen liked it. Stephen liked The Exorcist. We both did. We had a pretty lengthy conversation that started pretty much from the start of the credits till about like right before we went to sleep. So about 2 hours. That's not always the case with movies. I love talking about shit with my dude, I really do. But it's just not always the case. It really isn't. So we talked about watching the sequels, and I'm enough of a horror dork to say I had no interest in watching 2, which is The Heretic. But if you want a follow-up about Reagan, don't watch The Heretic. Watch Repossessed. I still reference that stupid movie, and I think I saw that before I remotely knew what The Exorcist was. We were big fans of Leslie Nielsen in my family. Hello, 911, this is the devil. Oh, and like 911 hung up. Like, so stupid. But I had always heard interesting things about Exorcist 3. I watched it once randomly on TV, and I couldn't remember much of it, other than a very random Fabio cameo. Like, what the fuck is Fabio doing here? Okay. And that's just the start of the weirdness. So the weekend following our watch of part 1, we skipped 2 and just went straight to 3. It's so weird. But I'm not mad at the weirdness. I know John Carpenter really wanted to direct it, but he noted several times that it was just clear the author wanted to direct and write it himself. I'd love to know what John Carpenter had planned, though. I really would. The performances are, I hate using this term because I used it a lot when I was writing live video commerce, but sometimes it's just good for what it is. It's next level. So many people really know Brad Dourif as Chucky and Chucky alone. I think the first thing I saw him in was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. His performance as Billy is always the first thing I think of when I think of Brad. And that's being a horror dork that's got a Chucky bust and like Chucky dragging himself on a cart. I loved most of the Child's Play movies, but there's also an episode of Tales from the Crypt with Brad and Bill Paxton playing brothers. And for a Tales from the Crypt episode where they're brothers just trying to rob an ice cream man, you couldn't look away from scenes that they were doing back and forth. They just played off each other so well. So Exorcist 3 is based off the second book called Legion. I barely finished Legion. It just didn't hook me the same way. But, if you dig it, cool, great. But if you have to choose between the book and the movie, I'm always going to go with the movie. It's directed and written by the author. It's 2 hours versus a couple days, That's just my 2 cents. But I might have lost all credibility the second I shit-talked Eli Roth. But I said what I said. Exorcist 3 follows a lieutenant that we met in the first book film. Lieutenant Kinderman is now played by George C. Scott. He's dealing with a series of murders that all seem to carry the same clues to another batch of murders. But that killer was caught and killed. So, is the Gemini killer actually dead? Is someone carrying on his work? Or is it something even worse? Something demonic. Brad Dourif playing off George C. Scott. You can't look away in those scenes. You kind of even find yourself leaning in. His performance is magnetic. Jason Miller, also good to see him back. This movie takes its time. There are parts that had me going like, what is this? What is this movie? But I couldn't stop. And I left being like, oh, that was so weird. In a positive, complimentary way. It's also very pretty, like shot after shot after shot. They're just gorgeous. I could honestly talk about the films, or those 2 films and the book for quite a while. I'm surprised. I really am. You got me, The Exorcist. You got me. And like I mentioned before, I definitely read more than that, but you know, I think I'll leave books there. But if you remember that you can always follow me on Goodreads to keep up with what I've loved, liked, hated, and straight up did not finish. I'm so glad that it did not finish like section now. It just helps clean up the stuff more. But also it helps like when you're like, wait, I didn't finish this. Why? Like there are a couple of books that I'm doing that with because redemption reads are great. But yeah, so Goodreads, Terri Doty. I remember on the night of recording June's Obscure Chatter, like right after we recorded that, a couple hours later, I had mentioned that we were going to watch it. So we did watch it. We watched the Liam Neeson Naked Gun. And I thought it was worth mentioning, even though, we finished it at the end of June. I needed a good, dumb movie, and this definitely fit the bill. Naked Gun movies don't remotely take themselves seriously. And sometimes that's just what you need. Like, was Liam Neeson on the same level as Leslie Nelson? Liam Neeson, Leslie Nelson. That's a drama warm-up right there, baby. But no, it's not on the same level. But he didn't really try to be. Like, Liam followed what I think a lot of successful comedic performances do, or he's playing it like a drama. Like a dramatic thing. Like, he doesn't know what he's doing is funny. Sorry, I took a weird pause. I thought I heard something weird, but I'm pretty sure it's my dog snoring. But I already knew Liam could do camp. And Liam Neeson's favorite movie for me is Darkman. And so that's very dark camp. There you go. Pam Anderson's hilarious. I love her timing. Something about UCLA, like, of course I see LA, I live here. Like, it's so stupid. Like, take a chair. Like, no, thank you. I have plenty of chairs. Like, it's so dumb, but it dragged a little bit, but Steven and I are randomly quoting it. So that's a win. That's a win, baby. Hey, Hop, is that her? Okay. It is. Well, I highly doubt you'll hear it, but like she tends to lean right against my booth, which my booth could use some upgrades here and there, but she loves to lean against it. So when she snores, it's like, oh my God, I feel it. But what else? Oh, I hadn't really heard anything about the John Candy documentary, I Like Me, but I'd been meaning to check it out for a while. I loved John Candy as a kid. I cried. I was living with my grandmother at the time, and she's like, yeah, he died. I'm like, no, I was not okay. And now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like he was one of the first, if not the first instance of recognizing someone's voice in a cartoon. Like, I was watching Rescuers Down Under, and I was like, is Wilbur Uncle Buck? Rescuers Down Under, my God. He's so good in that. But what else? There's Rescuers Down Under, SCTV, Uncle Buck, Spaceballs, Who's Harry Crumb, which I like. Not a lot of people do. Vacation, Splash, Nothing But Trouble, which I'm still apologizing to some people for making them watch. Summer Rental, Stripes, The Great Outdoors, Home Alone, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I could go on. But if you follow me on my socials, I don't think it surprises you when I say Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is my favorite John Candy film. I watch it at least once a year, usually around Thanksgiving, if not on Thanksgiving Day. The character of Del Griffith is just something special. I mean, I love several of John's characters, but Del, it's a different kind of person. The title of the documentary, I Like Me, is from Del's response to being completely torn apart by Steve Martin's character, Neil. Like, Neil goes into him, like tears into him in such a uncomfortable way for way too long. You know, like when you're really upset and you just keep going, like you've made your point, but you keep going to where like the argument and what you're mad at is about like actually like so much more and nothing else, and you've gone too far. Maybe that's just me, but I've definitely done that where I'm like, whoa, how did I get here? Like, we don't need to be bringing this up, Terry, Jesus. But in response to everything Neil says, John Candy, says, a lot of people reference this. So, you want to hurt me? Go right ahead if it makes you feel any better. I'm an easy target. Yeah, you're right. I talk too much. I also listen too much. I could be a cold-hearted cynic like you, but I don't like to hurt people's feelings. Well, you think what you want about me. I'm not changing. I like me. My wife likes me. My customers like me. Because I'm the real article. What you see is what you get. Oh. Sorry, I don't have like this swelling John Hughes music. But I remember that. God, that movie. See, screw your Odyssey. That's my Odyssey right there. Planes, trains, and automobiles. Actually, I do want to see the new Odyssey. Anyways, but the documentary was interesting because I saw a lot of my own hangups in John in a way I could not have predicted. I can't really begin to tell you how much I identified with him, honestly, nor do I want to. Y'all already know too much. And you're just gonna shit talk it to Catherine, aren't you? No, I'm sorry. I told you I would stop bringing it up, but I'm tickled by it now. But I really do love learning more about the people I admire. It's a dangerous game sometimes, though. It really is. For some reason, I decided to immediately follow I Like Me with the 2-part doc called Pee-wee as Himself. It's been days and I'm still recovering from it. This is wildly different from a lot of documentaries because Paul Reubens was so directly involved. He really wanted to do it himself, and with good reason. He didn't, though. So much of what Paul went through was because of forces out of his control. I think that's why he got a little panicky to where the project was going and how it was going to turn out. And Matt Wolf, the documentarian, the filmmaker, he did a great job. It really is something else. It's unbeknownst to the crew of the film. Paul was battling cancer for 6 years, and only a few people knew about this. So during the entire filming, Paul knows that he's sick, and he recorded over 40 hours. And Paul never officially wrapped what Matt Wolf, the filmmaker, was hoping for. I don't know. It's just so distracting. But it's the documentary is split into 2 parts. The first part ends with the premiere of Pee-wee's Big Adventure, which I think was Tim Burton's first feature. And the second part is about everything that came afterward. Oh man, Pee-wee's Playhouse was a really big deal for me. And I don't think that's a hot take. I think it was for a lot of us. As a kid, there's no way I could have pinpointed why. But looking back at it now, it celebrated the artist, the oddball, the eccentric, the punk, the misfit, the other. And Pee-wee's Playhouse ran for 5 seasons and was a big go-to for reruns until it wasn't. It's kind of hard to find streaming. It might be on Pluto or Tubi now. And I'm trying to hunt for the tapes, the entire series on tape, which I believe is a total of 16 tapes. I haven't found one yet. I would love to find one in person, but I don't know if that's going to happen. The show was so wonderfully weird. It had some adult humor, but nothing too risque or overt. It was also incredibly inclusive. Like, I'd say way ahead of its time, but no, like, I'd say we've regressed in a lot of ways, and that Pee-wee's Playhouse probably wouldn't air now for a variety of reasons. Like, that was like the Wild West of like television at the time, and so grateful I got to, be a part of it. The show was amazing. Um, oh, my dog's having a nightmare. Is she okay? Yeah. Okay. Oh. She's had a day, y'all. She's had a very big day. But, I learned through this documentary about everything that Paul really gave up for success. And it's what I'm grappling with now, is when you're successful and you're like counterculture, there's something that can really make you a target to some people. Like if you're odd or different and you're successful at it, it can really rub people the wrong way. Someone's success can really piss another person off. And I feel like that's what happened to Paul. Like, I think Paul was someone that was an artist and just wanted to share his art. And I'm very grateful to have grown up with him. And the end of the documentary pissed me off because he did not deserve the animosity he got. And I think that's why he didn't complete his interviews, is he was just so afraid about being misconstrued once again. Matt did a wonderful job with Paul's story. You also got to see these films and photos and collections that we'd never seen before. You got to see how Pee-wee was born, how he solidified, the things that didn't work out, but Paul had fond memories of, all this stuff. And I cried a little bit. I just think Paul was a wonderful person. If you're a Pee-wee fan, I think this is a mandatory watch. And if you're not, I still think you'd find it interesting. That's it. That's all I can say on that. What a wonderful man that deserved a hell of a lot more love and a lot more compassion. It's just, no, I said that's it, so that's it. Yeah. I listened to a lot of stuff since we last chat, but L7 has been the heaviest of heavy rotations. For those that don't know, Jennifer Finch, the bassist and also backup vocals, passed away just days after revealing her brain cancer diagnosis. And she was only 59. Like, that's way too fucking young. Fuck cancer. Cancer sucks. Hot take, I know. But I've just been listening to a lot of L7 since then. If you're not familiar with L7, what the fuck is wrong with you? I'm just kidding. Or am I? But if you're not familiar with them, you still definitely know Pretend We're Dead. It's been in so many different pieces of media, trailers, shows, television, movies, all this. Some people discovered them. I think this is how I discovered them. Discovered them after they appeared as a band called the Camel Lips in John Waters' movie Serial Mom. John gave them free rein in what the song would sound like and what the lyrics are. I think he just gave them the name, which I'm forgetting right now. I'm a big fan of Everglade and Shitlist. Steven's favorite song is Must Have More. And L7, it's part punk, part grunge, part riot girl, part shut the fuck up and listen. And it's just completely amazing. They were formed in the 80s, and there were a few band changes here and there. But when I think of L7, I think of Susie, Danita, Jennifer, and Dee. Their vocals are good and dirty. That good kind of dirty. I will not explain that. They just got this amazing. They've got this amazing energy. It's something else. It's hard to compare their shit to anything else. And why would you? But if you're familiar with them, give them a revisit. If you're not familiar with them, change that. Like right now. Like not, wait till the episode is done. I know you can pause it, but don't do that. Listen to this whole thing through. There will be homework. No, I'm assigning homework. Your homework is to listen to at least the songs we mentioned. So at least listen to Pretend We're Dead, Shit List, Everglade, and Must Have More. Go. After this episode's done. Come back here right now. The bell does not dismiss you. I dismiss you. I've also been listening to the Vampire Lestat. The album is officially out on digital. I'm really hoping for a physical, tangible thing. I need a real album. But yeah, season 3 just finished up. And for those that are confused, when I say season 3, it's considered the 3rd season of Interview with a Vampire. And it's just called the Vampire Lestat now because it mostly pulls from the book of the same name. This is probably the most divisive season of the entire series. And I mentioned it a bit last time. I know some people, now that the season's over, loathed it. Others loved it. I'm obviously in the loved category. There's just something about a 1-to-1 adaptation that could be done very well, but nothing about the show from the first episode of season 1 has been by the book. It plays a lot with the source material. If you're a reader and that's a big deal breaker, I totally get it, but I don't agree with all their choices. I really don't, but none of them have bothered me enough to make me stop watching or view it in a negative light. There's a ton more positive than negative. This season is different because it comes from a different point of view, and that view is Lestat's. He's chaotic, he's messy, he's avoidant, he's sexy, he's funny. He's brat. He's Lestat. I keep saying Lestat. So fucking northerner. Lestat. The Vampire Lestat. And it ends on a cliffhanger. I definitely cannot wait for more. I'm always really hoping for more music news. Again, if we can get a physical release, that would be great. I'm talking about a CD, you perverts. My God. But there's a song for every mood. And if you don't like the music, it's worth noting that they're trying to make music for vampire ears, not humans. So if you love it, you might be a vampire. And if you don't like it, you're definitely human. There you go. For longtime listeners of the show, you know I love the Queen of the Damned soundtrack. It's new metal goodness. And I really like the movie, but I mean, are we going to pretend it remotely honored the source material? It changed way too much. It changed like Lestat's maker and made Jesse this whole other thing and blah, 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 blah. But I still watch it. You know, I'm ready for more of the show. And actually, now it's not even called the Vampire Lestat anymore. The 4th season is going to happen, and it won't be called that anymore. It's going to be called Queen of the Damned, which we met Akasha briefly in episode 5 of this season. She's nothing like what Aaliyah did, which might upset some people, but y'all need to calm down, because Sheila Ateem is fucking incredible. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for more. More! Must have more. I hope you're able to add some stuff to your queue. I know it's probably one of the shortest media lists I've ever done. I don't know. I guess I just wanted to keep it short. Short-ish. I mean, list-wise short. You know I love to talk, which is shocking to none of you, even if you're new here. It's been, let's go with interesting online lately. I've been cleaning house a little bit in terms of social media, if you haven't noticed. I recently got rid of Letterboxd and Serialized, which that's how I was keeping up with what I was watching. But those apps changed on me in not a fun way. They were fun. And then also, and now they're less fun. Not fun at all in some cases. And hearing that some of that is going to get potentially sold off and I'm like, fuck it. And fuck this too. I tried to keep upscrolled because I love the idea of upscrolled, but I just kept getting bots and sugar daddies. I'm not going to expand on that. The big one that I killed was Blue Sky. Blue Sky was supposed to be my Twitter X alternative. You initially needed an invite to join. I forget, like, it told me, it's like, your number, da-da-da, in the thing, like, you're like this. I was within, like, the first 100,000 users or some shit, I forget. It took a minute to join, get its sea legs, and then I started seeing how it was silencing a lot of voices. Voices that shouldn't be silenced. It's as simple as that. And they just didn't update the things that needed to be updated. And I never got to see people I'm following on my follow tab. God. So then this age verification bullshit happened. I was already aware of it because I live in Texas. Look it up. Chase Bank was like, hey, you're going to have to verify your age if you want to use our mobile app. And that's how I learned about this whole thing. I thought it was dumb because I'm like, I've been with you since you were Washington Mutual. My history with you is old enough to rent a car. So in this ever-growing, I guess, what do you want to call it, like a nanny state, I'm just tired. I'm tired of this. Like, we don't need to parent more than actual parents. I miss what the internet could have been. But I wasn't going to give Blue Sky. They wanted they gave me 3 options on how to verify my age. They wanted my social, the last 4 of my social. They wanted a photo of my ID or a credit card. So instead of doing any of those, I just deleted my account and Obscure Chatter's account. So when I posted about it on Instagram, I had some messages and some comments. I turned off the comments on the post about it because I didn't fucking care. I don't want to do a bunch of different workarounds because here's the thing. The app itself is not worth any extra effort. It's just not. So I'm mostly right now on Instagram. Threads is a different beast. I'm still on Tumblr. If you want to follow me on Tumblr, I mostly just share GIFs from shows and movies I enjoyed. And occasionally things I'm in that I'm allowed to talk about. I love connecting with people. I really do. I just need to protect my peace first and my data. Yeah. I'm not saying a bunch of my shit isn't already out there, but, why make it easier? So when I step into the booth, my goal is usually to have fun, to have a good time, a few laughs. It really, really is. If the world at large could make that easier, that would be lovely. Don't get me wrong. I've had some great things happen recently. Like, I've booked some stuff. I get to talk about some other stuff. Like, one random thing, when I was recording a couple things earlier this week, I got into this huge group conversation with some other voice actors that I'd never met or really hadn't had a chance to, chat with too often. So all of us, for 20 minutes, we were all super early to our sessions. We talked about books, how we're dealing with the heat, a bunch of random shit. And there were just a lot of laughs. And I left that experience feeling light and loving that I got to know some new people. And I have little wins like that here and there. I just want more. I'm greedy that way. Give me more. And I want everyone to have more wins. But some of the things that I want people to have aren't even wins. They're just things people should fucking have. Like healthcare, education, the right to walk down the street without being terrified for your life. So if you're a frequent listener, you know that I've covered some very heavy stuff. I don't steer away from the controversial or the political. Mostly because it would be inauthentic not to. So I'm sorry, not sorry if I'm damaging your calm, but shit is fucked right now. And there are people in power that should never have been given that power. And it's insane that just feeling powerless and acknowledging that you feel powerless is so often right now met with a groan or a sigh. By the way, I never trust anyone that's like, I don't do politics, or why do you have to bring politics into it? Because we do, Rebecca. Because we just fucking do. And all of that is to say, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. At least once a day, I cry or scream or stare into the void, or all three. And there are people that say shit like, oh, that's just adulthood. The world sucks. You're not going to gaslight me into thinking everything happening is just part of growing up. No, the fuck you are not. Books are being banned and burned. Resources are dwindling at an exponential rate. Religious freedoms are under constant threat. We're being stripped of our rights. Bodily autonomy is not guaranteed. People are being hunted. People are being massacred. This is not adulthood. This is the bad place. This is not growing the fuck up. I don't think saying the world is on fire should be met with, it's always on fire, welcome to the cookout. Fuck off. Be mad. Care more. No one worth a shit should ignore these things. And when I say, like, those things that I listed, those are just the ones that I pulled from the top of my head. There's more. There's too much more. And we all just have to keep working, have to keep paying our bills. Bitch about traffic, bitch about like groceries. What's the next recall? All this shit. It's wild. But oh, hey, don't bring up X, Y, or Z because that makes people uncomfortable. Me bringing it up makes you uncomfortable? Not the X, Y, or Z of it? Me talking about it makes you uncomfortable? Well, guess what? Fuck your comfort. Shit has to change. And saying shit like, let's keep politics out of this, is just something a fucking ghoul would say. That's honestly probably disrespectful to ghouls. Like, I said something about the let's keep politics out of it. And one of the responses I got was, it's not going to change anything to talk about it. And another was, we're going to die anyway, so what's the point? The point is, they want us exhausted. They want us not to care. But caring is key. I'm not alone here, right? You're seeing the same fuckery I am. I'm tired. I know you're tired. I'm exhausted. I know you're exhausted too. But we have to keep caring about this stuff. I'm still hopeful. I have to be. We have to be. I believe I've said it before, to steal a line from probably the best Star Wars movie. Don't at me because I don't fucking care. But rebellions are built on hope. And I've said it before, but hope is rebellion. Hope is punk as fuck. So I guess rather than go through some topics, we did get a few topic requests that I might cover next time. I really wanted to take the time to acknowledge this past month has been especially hard. It's harder to just keep on the minutia that you have to do in addition to thinking about all these things. I vote, I donate, I boycott, I protest. But no matter what, it just right now, it doesn't feel like enough. So it's just that each day it's a new flavor of fuckery. And I can't stop thinking, we have to keep caring. Sometimes, a lot of the times, that requires us to stay mad. Thank you for listening. I love you all. We will be back at the end of August. Until then, stay mad, care more.